Hello and welcome to Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast, a weekly podcast where we figure out what we think about stuff. My name's Michael Forrest.
And I'm Ivanka Majic.
And this week we are doing in episode 168, we're talking about emotional resilience, which sort of feels like a subject that we should have done sooner, really. You sort of brought it up in the context of leadership.
Yes.
7 traits of iron elite team captains.
Yes. I did.
And
the fact that some of them are a bit
masculinized.
Yeah, they are. And I don't know that it's actually the content that's masculinized or the actual intent. So
yeah,
that's why I want to understand.
So we want to develop ironclad emotional control, an exceptional level of emotional resilience. But yeah, this sort of comes up in lots of places, really. Like when you do stuff in public, someone might say something, and like I put a lot of things out in public, and once in a while someone says something that hurts my feelings, and I wish I could be more resilient. There's sort of like in life, you can sort of feel that sort of pang of betrayal as someone does something, and you've got to sort of use the mindfulness techniques or whatever it is to try and sort of like, step out of it a little bit, to try not to just go crazy, and waiting for a text message from someone that you just texted, all that kind of thing. And then the state of the world, like, can you just go on Twitter and read it without either having to like launch a tirade in response, or do you even do I don't know if I even have the emotional resilience to go on Twitter, so
That's a good question. I think also in the context of, like, for me, raising a person and trying to work out how to help her be resilient emotionally and cope with life just generally, never mind being a small child in the middle of a pandemic, and what that might be doing for her emotional development, and how that's affecting her, and not just her but obviously the whole all the children, all the people, but I'm only responsible for this particular one, so she's my primary concern, or primary person to experiment on, maybe. And I think it's one of those things where, like, I certainly know the theory of it, but sometimes putting that into practice can be more difficult than you would think. So let's let the music go in and swell up. How is it going, Ivanka Majic? Ivanka Majic is fine. Ivanka Majic is fine. No, I'm good. I've had a bit of a week. I've had a good week, I think. One of the things that I work on voluntarily upset me a bit this week, and I did show it. Which is partly what's fed this whole topic of emotional resilience versus emotional control, because I think those things get battered around. The words emotional control get battered around particularly, and I think at the moment we're all having to exercise emotional control on a daily basis to live through a pandemic. So I don't know. Some days it gets the better of you. Work-wise has been interesting. The garden. I cannot tell you.
Safe topic, the garden.
Is
it luscious?
My daughter goes, "Oh, here she goes again, the plant lady, going to check the plants." So that's how much appreciation I get from my small child. So yes, I've even got little green tomatoes I noticed this week. So it's all coming. And Nick has made a beautiful new deck out of wood in one part of the garden that was you couldn't really grow anything, and we weren't really using it, so now it has a luxury wooden area.
I do like a bit of decking.
It's not. It's nice. Everything around here. They use a lot of stone, so we've got lots of stone,
Right.
stone terrace, stone walls, stone, because that's the most available material. So it's nice to break it up a little bit with some wood. So that's good. And the biggest news in the world ever is that my mum's coming on Tuesday.
Whoa!
I hope. Hopefully there'll be no like last minute. Oh, sorry, we've moved your flight. Or oh no, sorry, Indian variant means that people can't travel. But fingers crossed and all that. My mother will arrive on Tuesday, and then I shall shower her with affection, and in turn be showered, I hope, with some affection from my mum.
You know,
I'd like to think so.
I'm sure you will.
If I can get an in after my child demands all the
right,
it's like I can't wait till Granny gets here. Like, well, she's my mummy, so we will. So we'll see. Yeah. So how are you, Michael?
I'm good. I'm sort of enjoying the Italian. Just. It's just nice to be somewhere different and to be able to go outdoors and have. But I have been like. I've just been eating too much, which is sort of bumming me out because I started getting on these scales here and it's been exactly the same like kilo over where I want to be reading for 3 days in a row when I've been trying to sort of like calm it down. But there's so many I don't feel like I've been eating that much. But yeah, like it's just we sort of get up, we have, I have my breakfast and then it's like there's biscuits around and then I'm sort of eating snacks all day and then there's aperitivo, so we go out and sit on the thing, we have loads of crisps then, and then dinner is like really late here, so then, and that's always like 2 stages as well. So I just feel, it's not like the stereotypical sort of Italian mother going, eat, you're so skinny, but it's not far off. It sort of feels like that a little bit. It's not really like that, but like, and it is all healthy and vegetables, but I just feel like, I don't know, I just wish I could control all of the snacks all day. But I just had a plate of biscuits this morning, why? Because Sharon bought them from some nice place yesterday that we walked. It's like, oh, look at those little biscuits. And then it's just hard not to eat them.
It is. We've got a local Italian who brought us a tiramisu this week. And she's our new Italian friend. I made her a sourdough and she's made us tiramisu.
Right.
And I literally sat in front of my computer for my sort of afternoon coffee and I finished the pot.
I think we're getting homemade tiramisu in a couple of this week. But in other news, I've had this headache for a few days, which I'm hoping isn't anything, but hopefully, like, I don't know if it could be just the change of environment or I don't know what it might be, but I'm just hoping it goes away. But I'll keep you posted. And we're going, and also, and the last thing is it's my birthday next week, and Sharon has booked us a trip to Rome, so we're going to go down there on the train. Roma.
How exciting.
In it. And I've never been.
You can go and see lots of pictures of paintings of Madonna con bambino.
See. We'll walk past the Colosseum, and I just when I went in on Google Maps, it was like Roman numerals for this. I was like, Roman numerals. There's so much Roman stuff, isn't there? Roman stuff is cool. I think we're going to the Vatican, and like we'll kind of hopefully sort of in a low level. Hopefully, it won't be too many tourists there because of It
should be amazing, situation. Really, to go to the Sistine Chapel with not hordes of people.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Because it is worth a bit of a lie on the floor and have a look. To be truthful.
But yes,
it's art, innit, Michael?
It's an art. It is an art, a very famous art. But yeah, so we will be skipping next week's episode as well. Between Ivanka's mother and my birthday, we're just going to have the week off. A bit of a summer break. And I'm going to play a clip of what's it going to be. So, emotional resilience
is not the same as emotional control. Can we say that?
It's also not the same as suppressing emotions in that sort of toxic way. That's like,
a good point.
you can't just do the man thing and just go swallow it all and then let it, because that just results in angry outbursts, doesn't it? If you just kind of squash it down and keep it and wait for the right moment to like snap at someone. No, this is more about kind of having enough emotional intelligence to be able to sort of deal with challenging situations without sort of, but whilst maintaining a little bit of emotional distance from yourself, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the whole controlling. I mean, I think there's a difference between something really bad and traumatic happening and recognizing that that's happening, but still being able to function and also then work through it. Having the I think self-awareness is a really important factor in emotional resilience. It's like, so that you can sort of, that's what I think, that you can sort of stand next to yourself going, okay, that's traumatized me, but actually that doesn't define everything about who I am.
Yeah, like I don't have to become these emotions. And I just always remember the time when like I got a text from someone like that implied that, you know, we were working together and I thought we were sort of committed to sort of a project, and then I got this text was like basically she was like talking to this other person about a similar, I'm like, and I'd been reading a lot about mindfulness, and I managed to, instead of just like getting sucked into that thing, I managed to sort of separate myself off a bit and just observe the feelings that I was having. And it's really interesting to do that, because like my skin was prickling, and I was just, instead of sort of owning the emotion, I was just like observed the emotion, was able to sort of like give myself a bit of space to then not just sort of completely overreact. But that can be very hard to do, to sort of separate yourself from, because we feel like we are our emotions, but actually sort of part of emotional intelligence is being able to sort of see beyond the emotion and remember that like this is a reaction, this is a momentary thing that can actually be like looked at from the outside.
I think though one of the things that I when you say emotional, and this is where my comment about the ironclad emotional control being a thing, it's like it implies that all emotions are negative.
Right, yeah.
And so it's like the people that you want to work with and the people that are fun and exciting and inspiring to work with do show their emotions. They get passionate, they get excited, they are happy, they laugh. You know, not all emotion, and it's like I think it's a bit sometimes a bit it seems like the wrong thing to value sometimes, like that ability to control. It's like if you're angry, you're allowed to be angry. Yeah,
that's something that took me a long time to sort of come to terms with. But certainly, I think something that I'm getting from that is like emotion is it's a useful communication, a way of communicating. If you can communicate emotionally, like not all emotions, as you say, like. It also reminds me of this thing, women get hormonal and emotional, is this kind of thing that's said, but like, is testosterone not a hormone then? Do men not get emotional and hormonal then? I mean, Jesus, you don't want to deal with a hormonal man.
No, you don't. And I think, but that's the other thing. It's like, it's a weird. I spotted this on Twitter. I can't remember the context. They were talking about like how some man had done something, and it was like, I think it was in the Dom Cummings testimony context, and it was like, you know, when a man does something, then it's that man was unable to do things. But if a woman does something, it's like women are all like this. So there's this like generalization and this is why women can't be leaders. No, you know, like, so it's like mistakes are, or sort of unacceptable behavior, whatever it is, judgments are passed on all of us as a whole gender rather than just on an individual.
Yeah, and it's the problem of being in the out group, isn't it? Suddenly you're expected to, and I'm sorry, you know, like it's in the patriarchy, the women are the out group, but there are other, you know, not to all lives matter, but like obviously there's other kinds of out groups, and as soon as you become the representative for that group, and people start generalizing based on that group, and it's just not cool. Yeah. I loved it when Deborah Francis White on Have I Got News for You? She started talking about like Don Draper or whatever, you know how she starts talking about him,
Yeah.
and like Ian Hislop goes, "Oh, do women find that attractive?" And she was like, "Well, I find that attractive. I can't speak for women in general." And I was like, "Smack down, you got him."
Yeah, I think it's yeah. So I think that sort of the reason I always get a bit itchy when people talk about emotional control, or is that there's sort of implied in the choice of language is that is a benefit, and I don't think it's the same to experience a crisis. Like, I will say of myself, if something dreadful happens, somebody drops dead,
Yeah.
I am very good in that moment. I am very high functioning. I can deal with really shitty things in the moment. And then I'll go later and I'll fall over and break out in a rash and go mental. But, it's like, it's that sort of, and that goes for the same, like, I don't think the ability, and I think that's one of my strengths, and I will accept it and acknowledge it rather than like being all humble about it. But it's like when if you think about a team captain, this was that 7 traits of elite team captain was the thing I'm referring to with the emotional ironclad emotional control. It's like something has happened, like we're losing, something is going badly, whatever. It's being able to go, I feel really, really bad, but I need to act now. I need to put that to one side. And for me, that's different to not feeling bad.
Yeah, you can't. It's not that you're not having the emotion, it's just your relationship to the emotion could be, some people have a more, I don't know, resilient attitude to the emotional changes. But also something that there is this phenomenon of we do have this emotional defense mechanism for major, actually definitely terrible events that can kick in and help us get through them, and sort of not just, a lion kills your best friend, you don't immediately get depressed, you kind of like go into fight or flight mode, and we've got the, you don't feel, that shock thing, right? You don't feel it straight away, but the next day, mate, you probably start feeling it, because our bodies are sort of made to sort of like keep us alive and all that kind of thing. But a lot of what we're exposed to now is not really enough to trigger that. And that I find is the most difficult stuff to deal with. So like going on Twitter and seeing someone just saying something that you're like, how can you A, think this, and B, tweet it, and why is it at the top of the Twitter comments in this thread, like when everything else is, and getting angry about all that kind of thing is it's a lot harder to sort of figure out when the stakes aren't as high. Like we have, it's much harder to have that emotional control. Than otherwise.
Because you're kind of not being tested as hard. So you're like, it's like a slow burn that's not quite. You maybe takes. Yeah, I can see what you say, because it sort of it chips away at you in a sort of insidious way.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's like being bullied or working with somebody who's deeply unpleasant or something. It's like, one interaction you don't notice, 2, 3, and then after a while you're like,
right?
It's just. And it can't be dealt with because you're not really sure if it's happening.
And also, it's not enough for you to get angry with them over, because they've got this sort of maintain this defensible, like, and that's rough as well, because it's just like, because you go away feeling like shit, and sometimes you just don't even know why. And like another breakthrough I had was like someone was I don't know, being slow to reply to texts, and I sort of realised, I did discover, like talking to them again later, it was like, oh no, that was your fault, life. You did do that, actually. It wasn't just me being irrational and sort of oversensitive. It was like you were like doing stuff, and that was not cool. So, it's not always like, because there's this temptation that we always have, you have to absorb everything from other people, but they might be actually like behaving in sort of.
They might be bad.
They might be bad uns. And they might actually be trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
So that's tricky, isn't it?
It is. That is tricky.
Let me play a clip. This week I did a stream on Monday, my music stream, and they're usually quiet, and I'm starting to kind of get a bit sick of how quiet that. But anyway, this kid and someone came on and just went, "Oh, can you come and listen to my new track? It's just come out," and I was something along those lines, and I was like, "Sorry, like you can't just, can you? I sort of said it's a bit rude just coming on someone's chat without introducing yourself and expecting them to drop everything they're doing and like go and look at your thing." And he was like, "Oh, it's not exactly like you've got loads of people watching," and blah, blah. And I was like, you put this voice on, don't you, when you're reading someone's chat, and you just assume that's how they're talking. So I'm sure it's not, but that's my perspective. This is my interpretation of it. And I was like, whatever, banned. Because if you're not gonna like play nice on my channel, but then I sort of fumbled it because I was like doing it on the iPad and I couldn't tell if it had gone, and I accidentally unbanned him immediately, and then that gave him a chance to just call me a C word and call me sort of up myself, and like I was like ban. I was like, oh god, I wish I hadn't seen that. And I'm like, I don't care about this 16-year-old's opinion of me. I was like, he got upset because I expressed a boundary that I've decided that that's a boundary for my chat. If you come on and expect me to like look at something you've done without even saying hi or like asking me what I'm doing, like that's just not good etiquette for chat. But he's got angry obviously because I've imposed that boundary, and I'm going to try not to like get upset about it, but then you just can't, like it sort of stays on your mind. And I think I was quite sad the rest of the day, even though like it felt like it was for all these other reasons, but like it certainly doesn't help to be and I put myself out in public. I'm trying to do something, and I kind of have this idea of myself. I'm trying to have a net positive effect on the world, and the waves you make, and I'm like, did I make a bad wave by like, did I use the wrong words there, and like, could I what I've done is I've created an enemy in the world, I've created a negative wave and all this kind of thing. But yeah, it's tough because like and we sort of touched on it, this thing, you boundaries are part of the ability to maintain emotional resilience. You've got to know where your boundaries are, and then you've got to like not let, if someone sort of comes through, you sort of have to be assertive about them, and people don't like it.
No, I think that's the thing. It's very hard to establish. It is hard to establish boundaries because I think so. For me, when I try and articulate them very clearly, it feels like people are being. I mean, usually the only reason you're telling somebody about your boundaries in whatever way is because they're invading your boundaries, and so by the very nature of it, it's going to be a tricky communication. But it's like there are people that there are people I prefer to give my time and energy to, and largely they are people who show that they care about me. And if they don't care about who I am as an individual, and I find it, why would I choose to spend time with them? And that for me, that goes for a work environment as well as a personal environment. It's like, I don't need you to know everything about me, but for you to know nothing about me or not be curious about, even in the simplest form, like, how are you? Like, we're making some new friends now. And after my cousin died, well, I saw them, and then I saw them a couple of weeks later, and we were talking about it. And he was like, "Are you okay? I could see that you were really shaken up by it. Are you okay?" And it's like, there is something incredibly nice and makes you want to invest time into when somebody sees you. Yeah. And I think with that sort of interaction with it, and it's always unfortunate when it's somebody young. Like if it was a 16-year-old who's like, "Hey, listen to my track," on the one hand, you're like, listen, Sonny,
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for you to develop something. Let me give you some advice. Yeah. It's always nice to establish some basic social contacts before you start asking people to do things for you. Yeah. But then on the other hand, it's like, it's not my job to teach everybody in the whole world how to behave. Or like, that sounds also a bit, I suppose, a bit sort of... But you know what I mean? Like, you can't always... You can't every day.
For, like.
It's like, I can't spend every day to... Like, if you're... Especially, I find it infuriating when it's grown humans. And you're like, just... Have you not learned that actually... It's like my daughter talks to me about... Because I say hello to everybody. I've said this before. She goes, why do you say that? And I always address all the children in nursery by their first name. Morning, Antonia, how are you? Morning, Marta, how are you? That's like... So I think it's the best... Because hopefully that makes them feel nice. And then maybe they do it to other people. Because I think we all deserve to be seen.
Yeah, everyone wants to feel seen, don't they?
So it's like... Anyway, don't know where that was going, but I felt like I would say it.
It doesn't have to go anywhere, does it? It's a podcast. It's a long-form ramble.
Yeah, it is.
Let's put some music on. Why not? So I've been, because of a couple of my projects, I've sort of got to a certain milestone with two things at the moment, and I've just had quite a hard week going. Like, okay, I'm back to this. I've freed up all this time, especially with doing the live podcast and all these things. I've freed up all this time, and I've finished a couple of things off, just to bring back into focus how much I have not, in 2 years, managed to do very much of this marketing thing whatsoever, or talk about what I'm doing. And there is a huge emotional resilience aspect to that. Like, I am scared to ask someone what they think of what I've done, because they might not like it, because they might have a really good idea about how it could be improved, which is going to suck the next 3 months of my life. But yeah, I don't know, like, it's rough. But I've been watching a load of talks and like reading loads of different stuff, and it's like, you got to get out of the building and talk to people, talk to your customers. It's like I'm having to really do a major shift in my mindset of how I'm approaching everything. But it's not just customers; it's also like building relationships with press, building, influencers, all that kind of thing. That, like, I was trying to do it through Twitch and joining streams, but even that, like, I find, like, as soon as I jump into someone's chat on Twitch, it's like there's a commitment there for the next, like, half hour probably that I've got to sort of hang around and be involved, and I just less and less have felt like I have time to do that again. But yeah, I sort of have that insecurity of, like, each new person, I'm worried that they're going to think I'm a bell end, and, like, or they're going to hate what I've made. That's
fair. But I think that it is. It's a. But I think that's part of the resilience thing. Like, what you make is not who you are, and having been sorry, but having the self-awareness to know, like, who you are and what makes you you. It's like I was. So that, I think that's part of it. It's like, I can still love myself if people don't love my app, But I also think you can flip what you're asking. It's not. It's like asking what people enjoy about using it, instead of saying, give me some feedback. Well, I've got a big part. I write probably a massive article about how annoying the word feedback is, because it's like utterly unstructured and unsolicited and possibly unactionable. Like, it's like, but actually what you need to know is, which bit of my app do you find really useful, or which part of, how are you using my app? Not what irritates you, because if they describe how they're using it, so it's kind of changing the question you ask might help structure, because it's that thing, if you put out a blanket unsolicited feedback, which people have every right to give you, by the way, and that's, you know, fine, but it's that knowing what you know, getting feedback about the things that you have the time and energy to do something about. I know, I'm so, you know, it's like...
It's a complex. It sounds like a Rubik's cube of a puzzle.
It's like, how do you do it? It's like, how do I? So it's like, ask the questions that you're ready to hear the answers to. And if the truth is that you don't want the feedback, you know, like, or you can't act on the feedback, then don't ask for it.
Yeah, it's I mean, that's sort of nebulous. I need this to grow. How can I grow? I got like, it's because I know there's things I'm scared of, and like so if I can maybe like focus on, set the boundaries, set some rails up so that I can protect myself. This is why I always wish someone else would, you know, do it, because like that, someone that doesn't have quite such an emotional connection to someone that didn't work for all those hours on this thing, like I'm going to find it hard not to sort of overreact to criticism of something that I've spent 6 months trying to perfect, and they're like, oh, that's a bit wonky. I'm like, ah.
Well, maybe your friendly neighbourhood user researcher, when she's not working over the summer, could help you with some getting some feedback. Maybe. But you know,
I'm going to start.
I'm not working July, August. I'm not working July, August. I'm not working July and August.
Incredible. I mean,
edit my book and hang out with my child. So yes, but I could probably rustle you up some nice approach to getting useful feedback.
Or maybe I'll run some stuff past you. What do we what have I got on here? Changes in art. I saw maybe the Twitter. Do you know, I saw this, I'm just going to recommend, just in lieu of nothing, H Bomber guy's vaccine, what's it called, a measured response, an hour 45 entertaining YouTube video about the anti-vaxxers, essentially. And it literally comes down to this one guy's paper. You know, that paper, that autism...
The MMR guy.
The MMR paper. And he was like, well, let's read this paper. And he goes in, and it's like, there is nothing in this paper. In the first place, it's the opinions of the parents. And then you find out about, he was financially motivated to the tune of hundreds of thousands of pounds to try and find a way to market this other single vaccine thing. And like and the other person that he was working with was this thought he could cure autism with his bone marrow, and that was the person he was collaborating. There's no other stuff on autism and vaccines, but it spawned this entire movement, and it's quite incredible. But he goes into a lot of detail on it, and I'll link it. But one thing that was nice to see was that there was this really good journalist, which I should know his name off the top of my head, but who actually, like, he managed to get hold of all of they sued him for defamation for saying that he was lying about stuff. And as a result, the court case meant that they could subpoena all of the stuff that went into these trials that they'd done. So he got all of their secret stuff, this reporter, because they sued him, and then he managed to, like, he sort of showed how, like, broken it all was, and how much of it was made up, and how much of it, how much of it was just lies in the first place. As a result of that exposure, like, the sort of vaccine take-up, it dropped, because it was on TV all the time, like, do vaccines cause autism, crying children being injected. It was just on in all the press. And so like the vaccine take-up was really low, but then actually, like, it has actually recovered to the same level that it was before, as a result of people hearing the truth about it and hearing good reporting on it eventually. And so now this guy's gone off to America and is ruining America instead, and going on InfoWars and things like that. But, like, literally, like, this guy writes this little paper, and then suddenly he's doing, like, since when does a scientist have a press conference for some little paper that they've done? Like, he was trying to get this company going, basically, and, like, make all this money. So quite shocking. But yeah, it's the So what does that mean? If you get angry with someone on Twitter, maybe if you explain the truth to them enough, they'll stop being terrible. I don't know if it's
I don't know. That's the problem, I think, with some situations. And situations that I've found myself in more than once is dealing with somebody who is a narcissist. In which case, you simply cannot win. There is no win. Because for them, the world, like every interpretation of everything you do or you see or you say or how you feel is about them. And you can't move beyond that. And I encounter people in my professional life. A boyfriend like that was quite an eye opener. I was like, oh, I see. Bye. But it takes a while because you don't notice straight away. And then I think you've got, like, in a work environment, you just cannot explain some things to some people.
Which is a it's a sad thought, because, like, I don't want to. You don't want to be defeatist about things. You don't want to just, like, admit defeat. Like, okay, these Republicans are just never going to come back to reality. Like those kinds of things. Like you sort of, you don't want to just give up on huge sections of society. No. They can't all be narcissists, can they?
No, they cannot all be narcissists. So some people can't. I'm bringing my week to this.
No, I know.
Instead of your tweet.
Not engaged.
But yeah, it's a very difficult. The sort of explaining things to people is because if you read, I've had a little read ahead of this about the emotional resilience and the things you need to build, and it's things like people who have or are nurturing emotional resilience, they get out of their own heads, they know that they need other people, they call in their team, they enlist their team, they know people, they have a support network, they know who's good at listening, they consider possibilities. And you're just like, oh, what about this? They don't have to have all the answers. And there's these kind of things. But it made me think about the sort of the self-awareness element, and also being aware that sometimes you can't go into battle because it's not the right time for you. You know what I mean? Like, I had a really busy day. I've got a busy day. I need to give you proper time if I'm going to row with you on Twitter, and I can't do that now because I've got to look after myself.
Yeah, I mean, like that guy that was like, "Are you conscious? What are you?" The pantomime. I'm not getting vaccinated. I just was like, I'm marking that red and ignoring it because I'm just never going to have the time to have that conversation. But it is. I was thinking, it's like, I don't know, like seeing someone not wearing a mask on a train or something. Like, that's one of the big triggers for me at the moment. It's like, just put your fucking mask on. Put it on. But it doesn't help anyone to get angry about. So if you're not going to go into battle, if you're not going to be like, okay, this is going to be my problem, I shouldn't have to be the person that does this. There's...
But then maybe we're using the wrong words anyway, like what going into battle and getting angry about it. It's the ability to stop being angry for a moment. It's like what's nice about dealing with naughty children is that getting angry with them isn't going to help. I watched this mum in a park, because this is a little village, and she was shouting at all the kids because they've all been there, the whole park full of kids, and she's like, I'm going to tell all of your mums, and then this one little girl who really, you can tell, doesn't have her, you never see her parents in the park. They kind of let her be there on her own, like she's more like growing like a weed rather than being raised. She's just laughing at her because she doesn't know, like, you need to sort of like get in with her and like come down, be with her, and then bring her, like help her, give her a different thing to see. She's still young enough to give her, like, why does that mum always know all our names and say hello to us, but that other mum doesn't? That feels like give her them experiences that help them. So there's like those Republicans that have a particular way of thinking about people. I think the only way to, I think one thing that can be useful is to go, I see you and I see how you're thinking, and but have you thought about this? Rather than going, put your mask on. Though in the case of a mask, it's like somebody saying they don't care about you. And it's not the same. It's like drink driving. So I really don't mind what sports you do that might injure you, but drink driving might injure me, and I don't want you to do that. So yeah, I don't know where this is going.
I don't know. I'm going to play a clip. It's been good. Did you watch the Dominic Cummings thing this week?
Nah.
I did.
How was it?
He sort of he tried. I'm just happy that the English politics is like making me interested enough. I'm sort of interested enough in it in the way that American politics is like, oh, what's happened now? Like I'm sort of like, oh, a bit of drama in the English politics. Let's see what Dom's got to say. But yeah, he sort of went into the litany of ways, and you sort of hear these little nuggets from Number 10 and like how sort of like personal it all is, really, how much it's about the girlfriend and this and that, and how many lies are going on all the time and all these things. And he sort of tried to sort of do. He sort of did an impression of a humble person, even though it seemed it's sort of uncomfortable watching him do it. But I don't know. I don't know what I think. But anyway, it was entertaining, if nothing else.
I think that impression of a humble person is quite an interesting one. But it's so much of these things that always come down to the personal. I'm thinking about it today. It's like this kind of the group of people I've been doing work with recently, and it's like they are. It doesn't matter how. It's very hard to encounter groups of people, no matter what they're working on or what their values are, that actually live out those values in the way that they operate. So it's like when my sister talked about, some people. She talks about some people, and it's like who are supposedly Labour, but like she's like, just because your mum and dad voted Labour doesn't mean that you have Labour values. Just because you think these are your values doesn't mean that they are. And if they're not, just F off and go and vote Tory. Stop trying to mess with my party was one of her lines. But I think this is, it's a slightly, it's slightly, that's what I find disheartening, really, is in those worky situations. It doesn't matter, like you could be doing something really worthy like homelessness and people are still bickering about shit like that doesn't it's like they're all to do with their own egos.
Well, and this is and to just pull it back in, like it's really the more powerful you are, the more your little emotional whims you get to just you're like having these huge waves across a company or across the country or the world, just because, and like it's just a person in power with thin skin, for example, like the trouble they can cause.
Yes,
like it's terrifying, really, and it's kind of amazing. How does someone with thin skin get into power? I don't know. I wouldn't have thought. I don't know.
Does it get thinner as you go up? I don't know. Because now you say that, it's really made me think about my trickiness this week, which is all to do with a person in power who is never told by any of us that the effect of what they're doing. And that's really hard. And so, on the one hand, I was a little bit miffed with myself about showing my upset.
Yeah.
But then I wouldn't be who I am if I
Yeah, you
didn't
gotta, and
show my upset.
and again,
Yeah.
it's like how you've got to communicate things, isn't it? Sometimes,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's the only way to get through to someone is to just like let that down. But it's yeah, like no one ever telling someone in power that like they're doing something wrong. Reminds me of the. I was just thinking about the Hamilton, the King in Hamilton. Have you watched Hamilton or seen?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. He's got this solo song. It's the guy that played Mindhunter. He's very good. But he's sort of slobbering as he's singing, and he's got that like sort of powerful person grossness, because no one's ever going to say, "Can you shut your mouth, please?" That's disgusting. But yeah, it was. I thought it was a brilliant sort of representation of a powerful person who's just like the entitlement and the sort of lack of self-awareness, really, because they're never sort of challenged on the little things anymore. So it becomes this strange world. I just had one more thing written down here as a subject, which I don't know if it's a bad habit that I've got and how it affects relationships I have, but like I have this like trigger, and it's something you said before, like if I'm sort of find myself struggling, I have this instinct to want to like reach out, so try and get someone to help me with it. But then I have this feeling that I'm always only ever reaching out when I need help, and sort of imposing my problems on someone else in a way that I think I feel bad about it. I feel guilty about it, but it's sort of like I need it in that moment. And often like I'll reach out for that, but by the time the person actually responds, I've got over the hump, and I've sort of almost forgotten what it was that I was so upset about. But I don't know, like you said something about like reaching out for help. But I don't know if you react to that in any way.
I was just thinking that actually that in some ways that's something that, and I think maybe this is the a little bit of pandemic has exacerbated it in me, is that I don't always do that very well, because like I know I can, and I would like to, and I'm very happy for people to ask me for help. You know, it's not like it's just that then I sometimes think, oh, it would be terribly inconvenient if I phoned somebody now and ranted about something. Like, who are the people that I can, or, you know, there's not all my friends can cope with one of my rants, depending on what the topic is, and like, you know, so and so's having a bad time, and do you want and I think, but actually, and you don't want to be the person that's always asking. You know, you're like the needy person. Yeah. Like, I think, well, I don't, not you. I don't necessarily, but I think you have to. How can you possibly? How can you survive if you're not willing to use your network of people and go, I'm really struggling with this, can somebody help?
And so conversely, like I think I kind of want to, sometimes I want to reach out when I'm in a good place, but then I think that's sort of dishonest as well, because if the person only ever sees you when you seem to be doing really well, then I don't know, it's probably better to just sort of check in more regularly and not wait for an extreme, like even like talking to my parent, like talking to my dad. It's like it's either, I mean, he's only ever going to talk to me if someone's died, like suddenly, like that's the reason he's going to get in touch, or like I'm going to get in touch either because I've just had a brilliant victory and things are going well, and like I sort of, but then I don't know if that's as toxic as coming, you know, as like I don't know if either is toxic, but you know, like is it just as bad as only reaching out when you need help, or is it better to reach out when you need? Because at least when you reach out needing help, there's like I think I'd feel quite like not like I'd feel good about myself that I was the sort of person that I was someone that person felt they could reach out to for support.
That is a nice thing.
But then some people, it's just the trouble is, like, you also know that it tends to be the same person, and then after a few times you're like, yeah, okay, you're just someone that like always is needy. So I don't know. I
think it's a tricky one. I think we've all got our gangs, somewhere. We've all got our network, but I think I personally, for now, at the moment with this pandemic, I do think that everybody's got more shit on their plates, and I feel more so than ever. Maybe that's part of what's making things a bit more difficult. It's like the casual reaching out. It's like, if you're having a good day, I don't really want to mess with it. With my negativity or my bad mood or my whatever it is. And I think I am being a bit more reluctant to pick up the phone when I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That's my little conclusion for the day.
So, emotional resilience, summing it up, what have we learnt? Not very much.
Not a lot. Need to work on it probably. I mean, you reminded me of I have a sort of a chat with a friend of mine once where we really try and have a quick chat every week. And the last 2 or 3 weeks I found out what ends up happening was like, hi, how are you? And then we get into some topic and both have a little cry and then we have a bit of a laugh and then we're like, anyway, see you again next week. And actually it's like a 20-minute super fast emotional roller coaster. But, it's kind of like landing into somebody's day just when they're about to freak out is actually, it's not so bad. At least you've got someone holding your hand when you're having a freak out, so I don't know. So I don't know what we've learned.
Well, I guess it's sort of similar to what I was thinking, like probably it's best to talk to people, not wait for the emotions to drive it, but maybe to let the calendar drive it. That maybe results in a more like balanced relationship. But I don't know. Let's play the title music. What do I have to press? F1, I think. Thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, you can go to grandpodcast.com and make sure you're subscribed so that you never miss it. Or you can follow me on twitch.tv/Michael Forrest and you'll see that you'll get a live notification as well. Where can people find you on the internet, Ivanka?
People can find me at Ivanka on Twitter.
Cool. I was thinking about your blue tick and wondering if that's causes problems because people are like, an Ivanka with a blue tick. Well, that'll definitely be
Ivanka Trump. Yeah, I think I wonder that. She's got a blue tick as well. It's not, I'm not the only Ivanka with a blue tick. But
it's a different blue tick Ivanka.
The other one. I'm a whole different one. I have had some nice chats this week with people on the old. But I keep getting things like Ivanka. I'm like, what? You don't mean me. But I do think so.
Yes. I've got an app that helps you with emotional resilience. It's called Changes, and if you go to goodtohear.co.uk/changes $CT equals podcast, then no one's going to type that in, but that would help me know that you came from the podcast. It's for sort of checking in with yourself every day so that things don't get out of control. And I think it's a good app, and I've done it nice, and I've just added some new features where it will be more proactive with insights. It'll sort of try and push them. So all you have to do is just say how you're feeling once a day, spend 3 seconds, put it in, and then it's going to do the rest of it for you. I'm not going to make you be Tony Stark anymore, because I realised that there's not that many super geniuses, and who's got time? I should do the super genius work and bake it in and do it for you.
Yeah. I did think of your app the other day, because you were talking about a project and how to measure qualitatively whether a particular activity helped people. And I was like, so maybe you could qualitatively.
Okay.
So how do people feel after they've completed this thing, like over time? So there's a time element, but it might be a useful way of you perhaps donating some subscriptions, maybe 20 odd subscriptions to this group.
Subscription anyway, like you can use it, it's free. And you only need the subscription for the fancy stuff.
For the fancy. But that might be a nice measuring tool.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's goodtohear.co.uk/changes. Anything else? I don't know. We've got a Patreon. I'll send you a mug. This offer ends at the end of June. Patreon.com/grandpodcast. You're supposed to put a time limit, apparently. Yeah, support us on Patreon. Get a mug.
Scarcity.
Deadlines.
Only 5 mugs left.
Hey, Absolutely Nat. Thanks for listening. Absolutely Nat says, thanks for the podcast. Helped me through my morning. That's nice, isn't it?
Thank you. That is nice.
What was I going to say? Yeah, we're live on Twitch. But yeah, the other thing, so support us on Patreon, you'll get the mug, you'll get the early access to full video episodes, and the Slack. You can join us on Slack, which maybe we should turn into a Discord. I don't know. But anyway, hopefully we'll see you next week, and you'll have a good one. I'm going to try and remember.
Not next week.
Not next week. Not next week. The week after next, because it's my birthday, and I'm going to Rome. And Ivanka's mum's coming. So we're going to skip the podcast. All right. Take it easy, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye.